Hello and welcome to Lopack, the Mighty Station Calculator version 3.1 tutorial on how to create an object file. This will help you create an object file within minutes instead of the hours it takes maybe to create a complicated object file with measuring out each and every coordinate. So in order to do this, you open up the Mighty Station Calculator and go over to the Objects tab here down below. Then you want to select the line file. This will be the line file that you're using to cut your cross sections. Next, you're going to want to load in your DXF. I'll run through how to create the DXF now. If you open up your project drawing, for this demonstration we're going to use these AS3, Acceptance Section 3 cuts, and we want those to be created as our object files. So you can either use QSelect to select all this, or you can use Lay ISO, which is what I'm going to do here. Lay ISO. Oh, I typed that in wrong. Lay ISO. And then you're going to select one of the cuts there, cut lines. Then you can clipboard, copy with base point 0,0,0, open up a new drawing, and then paste it in at those same coordinates. And Z enter, E enter to see, and here we are. First thing we want to do is check to make sure that these are all polylines, and you can check by opening up the properties, and you can see this is polyline here, and they're all polylines. If it were to be not a polyline, an example would be a arc or if it was a block. I'll show you here. If we explode this, you'll notice that it says line up here. In order to convert that back to a polyline, we just type in PE or PEdit, and it'll ask you down at the bottom, do you want to convert it? Hit yes, enter again, and now you can see that it is a polyline again. Next, second thing you want to check for is make sure everything, all the text in here is a text. You can check right up here, it will say text. It might make sure it doesn't say M text. The program will only recognize polylines and text for this application. Next, we will save the drawing as a R12 LT2 DXF, which is the last one on the list. We'll just name this AS3 Cuts. I've already created this, so we'll just name it AS3 Cuts 2. Then we'll go into Lopack and load in that DXF we have just created. Next, we want to select our properties here. This is the line width in our object file. Typically it's 1, or you can 2 if you want it a little thicker, however thick you want the line to be. You can select what type of line, the color, maybe we can make it green here. The font, we can select what color, maybe we can make this blue, regular, no underline. Or we keep the underline, however we want it, whatever font. Then we can come over and select what depth do we want the text to be, if you happen to have text at all. You don't need to have text in your object file. It just depends if you have it loaded into your drawing or not. So we'll come here, we'll put a depth of 10. Then over here is where we're going to start the vertical lines from our drawing that are going to be showing into our object file. If you leave it blank here, it'll just start at 0, which is fine for many applications. If you want to change it, you can enter in whatever number you want there. Next, we want to select the end of the line, what depth the end of the line will be. For this application, we're going to be using over depth and grade. So our over depth happens to be 31. So we're going to type in that because that's going to be the lowest point. Now, if you wanted to enter a secondary line, this will be, if you have a number, if you leave this blank, there will be no horizontal line. If you do put a line, if you do put a number in here, there will be a horizontal line. So we want a horizontal line at 30, which will be our grade. Now, if you wanted a horizontal at the primary depth, which we do, which is our over depth, we'll select primary strike here. If we want to put a horizontal line strike depth at the start, which will be 2 in this case, we'll select it here, but we don't want to put a horizontal line there. Then if you want the station name or the line name in your object file, you'll select the station name there. And then minimal text basically just means you have to try it for yourself, but it basically means it will just only put the text once in each object file. This may come into play if you have a line in your drawing here that intersects the line more than once. You might want the text to show up the name of the cut or the name of the text to show up many times. Sometimes it looks sloppy. Depending on your application, you may want to just unselect or select this. I recommend selecting it and see what it looks like first, and then if it's missing some text that you would like, then select it. Then you want to click Create Objects. Now we're gonna select the folder where we want to save it. I'm gonna click Demo Files here. We can make a new folder and call it AS3 Cuts. Then we're gonna select that folder, hit OK. Now it should have just created all those object files. So we'll navigate to that, AS3 Cuts, and here are all our object files. It's made one for each line. Now it also has created a log file of all these, so we can easily insert that into HiPack without having to load one by one. So we can go into HiPack cross sections, load in some data, and then we can load in our object files that we have just created. So you can load it in one by one if you would like, or you can come back down here to the lower right hand corner and select catalog files. Select the catalog file that the Mighty Station Calculator has outputted, and here you go. If you need to move it up and down, you can use these arrows if it doesn't put it in the exact spot you need it. Now we can view, and you'll see that it has created a perfect object file for what we were looking for here. You can scroll through, you can see cut 38D there. It's continuously changing, and that's one of the most annoying things about creating object files. You got to create a new object file for each line because one thing changes, and this happens to be nice and perpendicular and straight, so none of the other ones change. But sometimes you'll be on projects where all these lines will be changing, and you have to measure each and every one of these, and it could be quite frustrating and time consuming. If you do happen to see like cut 31D here, it's not exactly in the center like some of these other ones might be. This just depends on your drawing where this blue dot is. Maybe it favors one side of the cut more than the other. In that case, all you'd have to do is you go to the station 815, double click, and then you navigate to cut 31D, and maybe you want to move it out a little bit. Then we can view, and you can see it's more in the center of the cut now. You might have to go back and fine tune a couple things, but at least it's got a lot of the legwork done for you. We'll go back to Lopack here, and if you have any other further questions, you can click Help here, and it will run through all the instructions on how to make an object file. Hopefully this was helpful, and happy creating of objects.